Yeah, how's everyone doing with the last one of the day? So we're the headliner. Everyone else is a backup crew. That's what we're here for. Okay, so let's see it. So you guys are in for a treat. We got a real diverse group here. We're going to have blockchain, crypto accounting, technology. We get the full gamut here. And you'll see a well-rounded group here too. So let's see here. So from an introduction standpoint, I'm going to ask you all to kind of introduce yourself. So first, I'm going to introduce myself. So I'm Rob Sarnie, you heard, and I am a professor of practice at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. I teach finance, FinTech, and MIS. I'm more tech fin than FinTech. I was in industry for 31 years, the last 23 with Fidelity Investments. And I'm having a blast teaching all these students here too. So, but I also want to have you guys say, not what your company does, you heard that from me, but I want to know what your passion is, and your hobby. Okay, so I'm going to tell you. So my passion is basketball. I love playing basketball. I play it all the time. And my hobby, which is related to it, I'm a certified IBO ref. So I ref high school ball. So I'm telling you guys right now, Kwamie, especially you, if you're on the 3 second, I'm gonna count you out. So make sure you're ready for this. So Rebekah, I'll hand off to you for your introduction.
Okay. You guys hear me okay? All right, so I'm Rebekah Purrazzella. I lead the Outsourced Accounting Solutions Group at Wolf & Company. Wolf is a CPA firm in the Boston area, and we have about 350 professionals. We provide a wide variety of services, mostly audit, tax, accounting, and risk management services. My group personally, we do outsourced accounting, so anything from bookkeeping to virtual CFO work and everything in between. Personally, my passion, I would say, is cooking. I really enjoy, something I really look forward to and I enjoy sharing with others. Kind of hand in hand with that, one of my hobbies is entertaining. So I really love to host themed parties, themed dinner parties, holiday parties. So I think if I wasn't in accounting, I would probably be doing some sort of event planning. And not necessarily a hobby, but I am a new mom, so that takes up a lot of my time as of recent as well.
So what's your go-to meal at Thanksgiving that you make?
Go-to meal at Thanksgiving is probably my grandmother's stuffing, is the dish that I usually make.
Wow, what do you put in it? Anything special? Everyone has a little special something.
It's cornbread stuffing.
Nice, yeah. Very nice. So next we have Aidan. Aidan.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. It's great to be here today. My name's Aidan Yeaw. I'm the COO of Node 40. And essentially, we're a data analytics firm that provides accounting and financial data from mostly from the blockchain, but also off-chain. And we sell that mostly to accounting firms like Wolf to help them with their clients who come up with really crazy, not necessarily always crazy, but usually complicated things that they're doing with digital assets. I like to think of us as the Palantir of digital assets, if you're familiar with Palantir. I'm originally got involved with Node 40 actually as an investor. I'm a member of local angel group called Chain Reaction, which is Boston-based, but we invest globally in blockchain-oriented companies. I know there are a number of members here today, so I like to think that it came full circle here in terms of having the Boston nexus to Node 40. As for hobbies, this is kind of very not crypto at all, but I really enjoy shellfishing. I've done it since I was a kid. It's a kind of a family tradition. I love getting oysters and clams when I have a recreational license out in Wellfleet and the Cape. I really enjoy doing that in my spare time.
You don't go into the lobster pots, do you?
I do not, because I understand it gets really violent.
That's right. And, you don't want to do that.
I like having my limbs in my life, so I don't mess with the lobster pots.
Awesome. Thank you, Aidan. And the Kwamie Dunbar.
Yes, so good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I'm Kwamie Dunbar, Associate Professor of Finance at WPI. Now, my work, unlike my colleagues here, my practitioner colleagues, is that I do research and put it out in the practitioner space. I work on cryptos, examining, adding cryptos to portfolios, optimizing cryptos within portfolios as a new emerging investment class, looking at certain, I want to call it FinTech tools, how these tools such as AI blockchain can be used within the crypto space, but also when we look at, for instance, a central bank digital currency that has been discussed, using AI in investments as an aid, right, to traders or investment managers, how they could actually use this in helping the decision process. Outside of that, outside of teaching courses in FinTech, I'm also the director of our recently launched Masters in FinTech at WPI. Now, when I'm not working or writing papers, I enjoy traveling and, of course, fishing.
Wow. What's the biggest fish you ever got? And it's supposed to be a good story behind this.
I'm still working on that. Still working on it. Let me just say that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okie doke. Okay, we're going to get right into the questions now. So Rebekah, I'm going to start out with you, right? So at Wolf & Company, what challenges do you see with emerging growth companies in the crypto space? What do they experience? What challenges as they're starting out?
Yeah, so clients or potential clients, when they come to us for assistance, when they're pretty early stage, one of the challenges they face is that they know their business really well. They know the day-to-day operations in and out. What they don't know necessarily is how to then get that kind of institutional knowledge and then transactional data that might live on the blockchain into a set of usable financial statements. And I think early on you don't have that infrastructure set up most of the time, and it can be a bit of a daunting task. So I think step one is certainly getting the right team in place, and that might be an internal hire or a set of internal hires, or it could be a third-party service provider. But I think no matter which way you go, what you choose for the team you're working with, it needs to be a team that has the right expertise in the industry, because that team's going to work with you to really implement the accounting policies and procedures, processes, tools and technologies, all of those things. That's going to bring you forward, and that you're going to have to live with those decisions later on down the line. So it's important to get the right team in place to work with you, to get the right technology stack in place, the right processes in place to move forward on the right foot.
Now, what do you see? Because it's so deeply technical, right? And a lot of people don't understand it. Even one of the questions previously, like layman's terms, like what about their communication? What do you see as to have them really get through some of those challenges? Do they make it tech? Do they make it layman? Do they do both?
Yeah, I think a bit of both is needed. I think there's a lot of business owners are so very technical, but I think breaking it down into layman's terms, really understanding from a practical standpoint what is needed and how to kind of make it usable for the team and the organization as a whole is important.
Yeah, that's huge. Okay, we're going to switch directions a little bit here. So for Kwamie, I got a question for you. So I mean, Boston Blockchain Week. People talk about global warming, climate change. Are there aspects of blockchain, from your perspective, that make it, it makes it a suitable tool for sustainability initiatives that are going on out there? What do you think?
Yes, thank you. Great question. So, quite recently we have been discussing the carbon trading market in particular, and looking at the entire issue of what's called greenwashing, right? And as it relates to ESG products, and when I say ESG, environmental, social, and governance, most of these products, there's issues around the level of rating that may be assigned in terms of an ESG rating, right? As recent as yesterday, there was a firm that was assigned a rating that is questionable, given its track record in the field. Now, one product that we're researching, looking at currently, is how we can apply blockchain in this kind of environment, given its track record of transparency, security, and that ability that will allow us to lock or be better able to capture and record using the technology, right? The blockchain technology. So I think it possesses a lot of opportunities in that area that we could address that greenwashing issue that has been a proverbial issue quite recently.
Wow, thank you, Kwamie. That's awesome. So Aidan, now we're gonna get you going here now too.
Right,
so
I'm ready.
From what you see, right, at Node 40, right, how is accounting for crypto and blockchain, different than other more traditional type assets that we have out there? What's the big difference?
Yeah, thanks. And I think for those of us who've been in the blockchain community for a while, you hear this a lot. It's like it's the same but totally different, right? And I think the same thing applies to accounting and blockchain. I think fundamentally what we see is that there is, and I think and Rebekah hit on this earlier about just the lack of infrastructure. I think there's a lot of assumptions that when you're doing certain transactions involving digital assets, whether they're on the blockchain or on and off chain, that all that data and all that financial data just automatically comes. It doesn't. And so a lot of times, like if you're not just doing a straight trade, maybe you're staking, for example. If you're familiar with Maker, for example, that creates some really weird data exhaust on the blockchain. It looks like a buy and sell, but it's not a buy and sell at all. So what we have to do, or one of the things that we do at Node 40 is we go a level deeper. We actually take a look at the economic intent of what's going on, whether it's a DeFi thing or an NFT or any type of digital asset. And the most important thing that we do is that we kind of put it in a way that accountants and financial professionals can understand. So Rebekah, I think, got on like financial statements. One of our big outputs is a balance sheet so that accountants, and I think one of the earlier panelists said something about like, I don't want to understand how an internal combustion engine works to drive my car. Accountants don't want to do this either. They don't want to understand, they don't want to be blockchain engineers, right? I'm sure Rebekah's opined if she wants to become a blockchain engineer, but they just want to have something that they can understand to help their clients. And they bill by the hour usually, right? So like if you spend less time, it's going to be more advantageous to the clients. A large part of what we do is take like what is really squirrely data, from the blockchain and other sources and put it in a way that's understandable by accountants and what is generally viewed as accounting standard type of formats.
Wow, very nice. Wow. So let's see it. So Aidan, since you seem like you were on a roll, I'm going to ask you another question too.
Okay.
So what type of data is needed to perform accounting on blockchain-related assets?
Yeah, I think I hit it in my that's great dovetail because I think I hit it in my last response is that you just like if you're going to rely exclusively on the blockchain, you're going to come up with disappointing results. Trust me, like if you're just like buying and selling Bitcoin on Coinbase, yeah, you're probably going to be fine. You can probably use what you need on Coinbase, no problem. But once you start straying into other things and a lot of things on DeFi, and certainly on in other protocols, you're going to need something like a little bit more robust. So that's where unless you really want to go into and read every white paper for all the of every protocol, and trust me, those white papers aren't what they used to be. But you really kind of have to understand what's actually happening, with each transaction, with each token. So that's a large part of what we do, so that a lot of people, the financial professionals that service people that deal with this stuff, so you don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, a little experience that I had with a student project team was that, we were working with an IoT device and we wanted to put it on chain, and it was figuring out what do you put on chain, what do you don't. Do you use a file system, do IPFS, FS? It was just so challenging on what tools and how do you do it and getting what type of data was such a critical conversation to figure that out properly.
Yeah, we're usually either one person or one person away from talking to someone who does something in digital assets or crypto. It's like, oh yeah, when I had to do my taxes or do something, I was stuck, And then they usually have to understand what our value proposition is.
Awesome, thank you, Aidan. So I'm going to go back to you, Rebekah. Okay, so when should companies begin accounting digital asset activity? Is there a certain key point that they should be looking for?
I would say just immediately. I mean, I think the attitude is often, we don't have the complexity yet or the volume yet to really warrant the investment in, a complex ERP or GL system, and the ancillary apps that come with it or that need to come with it to really make a streamlined and efficient process. And that might be true to some extent, that you can get by with that at the beginning, but you really want to, before you have that volume and complexity, set yourself up for success so that, as things ramp up, you're really in a position to move forward and not be scrambling to get those processes and tools in place when it's pretty much, too late. I mean, I think living in an Excel world or trying to live off of the data that's on the blockchain is doable, but I mean, I think your tax professional doesn't want your Excel sheet. They want an organized and accurate trial balance that came from, an accounting system. I think, not living in that world, you are very, the human error risk is high when you're trying to translate transactional data, on your own. And so I think I can't stress enough, the earlier the better. I think getting back to kind of getting that right team in place to be able to utilize the tools, and there are so many tools out there, that you really just need to invest the time to find the right ones for you and the right ones that work well together, to be able to just have a very efficient and streamlined accounting process.
So like Mom always told us, right? Earlier the better,
Yes.
right? Okay,
Yes.
works everywhere.
It does.
Those moms, they know it. New moms, moms, they know what's going on.
Yeah.
So Kwamie, we're gonna go to you now. So let's see. So you get. This is going to be a question that everyone wants to hear because everyone's talking about it. Is the relationship between the Fed's policy rate and crypto lending rates?
So as my predecessors here on the stage earlier talked about decentralized finance, decentralized assets, being cryptos, one would expect that crypto assets or DeFi assets would be insensitive to changes, in typical monetary policy. Now, the typical central bank interest rate is more responsive to risk, wherein cryptos, lending on a crypto platform is determined more by supply and demand. So, it's intriguing to try to understand, is there a relationship given the decentralized nature of cryptos? Now, looking at both of them and, examining the lending rates, recently, I've looked at a number of cryptos lending rates, which includes Aave, one of the, primary lending mechanisms. And what I've found is that, there seems to be a very strong correlation with, our current Fed rates and the Fed policy rate changes, which started about, a year ago. We're noticing that it has been impacting the lending rates on these platforms. Now, it's hard to say exactly, what is some of the drivers that is causing that at this early stage, because cryptos most cryptos came about after 2008 as a response to the 2008 crisis. And they have actually witnessed a period of rate increases like we're seeing now, right? We have been in a bull market environment for a number of years. So this is one of the first real tests that we can really, stress test these assets and see how they respond. And, again, as I said, we could see a shift in policy rates have caused a decline in lending rates on the crypto platforms.
So does this influence the lending in the DeFi market?
I think it does influence it. Again, it would be meaningful to see, to better understand the causes. This is early on, and I'm looking at some of those root causes, right, along with that. But if that's the case, I think it will, most definitely.
Thank you, Kwamie.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to you, Rebekah. So you don't have to give names of your clients. But what are the common accounting mistakes, pitfalls that you see with your clients?
I would say the biggest one I see is just being very reactive instead of proactive. I think kind of common theme among my answers today has been really, getting yourself organized early on so that you're able to have that data and insightful information at your fingertips to help you plan for the future. So as you think of your goals for the next few months, the next few years, you really need to plan in order to get there and achieve those goals. And I think in order to do that, you need to have, again, usable financial statements and financial data metrics and insightful, pieces of information that are going to help you make decisions and informed decisions to help you kind of look to the future and not always be playing catch up and looking towards the past, just to understand what happened already. So that way you can really use data to plan for the future, look to the future, and be proactive rather than so reactive.
Wow. And you don't want to tell us your client that does this? No? Okay. Well, we'll keep. You can just whisper it into the mic. So, okay, Aidan, we got you up coming up now. So let's see here. So, what will the future entail for the needs requirements for the accounting of blockchain-based assets?
Thank you. I think there was, Justin earlier from Blockchain Advisors wearing a T-shirt, and on the back it says, "The future is tokenization." A big part of what we believe, and I think a lot of us believe, and I think it'll be a feature of this blockchain week for the couple of days, is like where we go next. And tokenization, as Rebekah and I alluded to earlier, without the infrastructure, is going to go off the rails. So I think we have to solve for these basics of how to deal with the financial and economic, output of what it means to tokenize things. Whether you're going to buy and sell municipal bonds, that's going to be, I think, a topic tomorrow, right? There's clearly an economic impact there. So don't just assume that the typical bond infrastructure translates to blockchain like that. You get an instrument for it. So I think that's what we have to be like. And I think companies like Node 40, and we're not the only ones. We're definitely solving for some of these thorny issues about how to deal with the economics of all digital asset activity. And so that we have to be already thinking ahead that the next step in tokenization is dealing with the infrastructure, not just on the economics, but compliance, regulatory, risk management too, to make sure that superhighway is going to really be the thing that supports what I believe in the next 20 years is going to define how we live and conduct transactions among ourselves for pretty much everything.
Wow. No, thank you for that, Aidan. So now we're getting close to the end, but let's do some wrap up now. So I'm going to go back to you, Aidan, right? So,
okay.
So for this audience, from your perspective, what are in 3 words? I'll give you 4 maybe if you're good, right? Do you want them, when they leave this place, to remember from this talk? And after that, you got 15 seconds to shamelessly plug anything you want about you, your company, an event, whatever it is.
I would say, I don't know if it's 3 words, but don't assume infrastructure is the key thing. I would say in part here is just, and I'm sure this is what Rebekah alluded to earlier, you just we have seen it, I'm sure Wolf has seen it too, just there's just too many false assumptions being made that things are there. Don't make that same assumption yourself, and whether you're embarking on a new project or what have you. Shameless plug, I'm I'm a big fan of some of the local charities. I guess Pan Mass Challenge, which recently happened.
Oh, okay.
You know, so I'm gonna go off grid here and say, like, I'm a big supporter of the work they do. I don't know how it all impacts with this new hospital switch with the Dana-Farber connection, but I still believe it's a worthwhile charity, and there's still, if you knew of any riders, I'd encourage you to support them. You can still donate till the end of the month, I believe. So please take
You obviously do it.
I don't. My
You
brother-in-law
don't?
did it,
Oh, wow.
and I knew several others. So, but I love that charity. It's like it's amazing how I think it's got a national reputation now, right? And I don't think it's even realizing locally how real widespread.
Yeah, it's
truly
huge. Yeah,
is.
I got a lot of buddies that do it.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's getting up there with the marathon, Heather the Charles, you know, in terms of a total international understanding of it.
Absolutely. Wow. So Kwamie, I'm going to go to you too from wrap up. What are your 3, maybe 4 words you want them to part with? And what do you shamelessly plug for you or for whatever event you're thinking of?
So I just want to say that as an asset class, as an emerging asset class, I think cryptos are here to stay, right? What we find is that the data shows that it's basically taking root with Gen Zers who find it interesting, and they drove it during the COVID period, right? And I don't think for that group of investors, cryptos are going to go anywhere, right? Now, sustainable investing is also something that I believe will take shape and form over the next couple of years, because today's investors are asking for more accountability to the environment, right? So what we'll find is that these are 2 things that we'll see take shape and take hold in the coming years.
Wow, that's a lot of you said a lot in 3 to 4 words.
Well,
You did a great job. Wow. Now, what do you want to shamelessly plug?
Well, we're continuing this conversation because this is a great conversation. I heard earlier when I walked in that, as we develop our talks around cryptocurrencies, FinTech, right, sustainability, this conversation needs to continue so people can learn more, right? Because a lot of people don't understand what are cryptos. We didn't talk about the environment and so forth. Well, in my work, we're continuing this conversation. We're having a conference on FinTech coming up in a couple weeks at WPI, October 19th through 20th, where we will continue this very same conversation. And our hope is to engage the community so people understand much more.
Highly recommend that conference. Come up to WPI, check it out. Industry's going to be there. Academia, it's going to be crazy. I'm telling you, come on out. Rebekah, you're up now. Okay, let's see if you can do as well as Kwamie. He said a lot in 3 to 4 words. Let's see if you can do as well. And what do you shamelessly want to plug? You have your event. By the way, all the drinks are on Rebekah. Just so you know Rebekah, right? You can plug that or anything else you want.
Yeah. My 3 words are implement technology ASAP. So.
Look at that. She's the only one who stuck to the rules. Thank you. Okay, nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think my plug is, yes, we are having the event directly afterwards, but also Wolf does have crypto and digital asset specialists across all lines of service. So if you do find yourself in need of help in the accounting area, you can go to our website, wolfandco.com. And just take a look and see we have a lot of service offerings. So.
And thank you so much, Rebekah. So yeah, and now I can see we're running out of time. The clock's coming down. Oh, you want a question? I'm sorry about that. Go ahead, bring it in.
All right, so I'm in the advertising space, right? So what I'm curious about is how are companies claiming the value of crypto? So like, when is it a taxable event, essentially? If they bring it in from fiat to crypto, let's say like I brought in 10 grand, right? Let's say I bought a bunch of NFTs, and those NFTs could go up in value or down in value, and then same thing with those crypto. Like, how are we accounting for that? Do I not need to worry about that until I actually take it back to fiat? Or is it like, these, if I minted a bunch of apes and now they're all worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, is that something I need to have on a balance sheet somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, I think every exchange is considered a taxable event. You don't have to wait till it goes back to fiat. And you don't have to be selling something. So anything in exchange for something else is considered a taxable event. And so that, I think, needs to be reflected on the financials as such. So it gets a little hairy, I think, sometimes.
Right. Especially with the value of an NFT can just plummet. It's like,
Yeah, yep,
claiming that loss and then they go back up. Like,
Right.
yep.
Great.
Usually the way we approach it is like if it's a disposition of the asset. So same thing, like if you sell it, exchange it for something else. In the case of NFTs, it gets really gnarly really fast, especially if you initiated that NFT or if you took it and added value to it, right? So there's all sorts of quirkiness to there, and that's where you're definitely starting to get into like a very opaque territory. And this is where the rules aren't really spelled out, and that's why what we do is like we provide the data so a firm like Wolf can come up with the right point of view on the behalf of you as their client to say like, okay, this is what how you should treat this tax-wise, accounting-wise, or if you're using them for audit, from an audit perspective. But you hit exactly the use case that's gnarly.
We get another question right here.
Yeah. This is is it Aidan?
Yeah, Ben,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. You described your firm as Palantir-esque.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, you're doing a lot of big data stuff, and I'm wondering, I'm thinking about the recent events with Chainalysis and how in the courtroom, I forget who exactly on staff at Chainalysis said basically, we don't have rates of false positives or rates of false negatives for the services and analysis we provide. I'm wondering, has Node 40 run into anything like that, or how are you handling that sort of?
Yeah, so we often put ourselves like in the same kind of cohort as like a Chainalysis, Elliptic, TRM, a lot of those players, right? And where those guys are really looking at like tracking of assets, they don't get into the economics or finance aspects of what's going on with that activity. That's where we come in. So Chainalysis stays out of our lane, we stay out of theirs. I think it's someone from one of those three said it recently, we can tell you what to do, and Node 40 can tell you, was it worth it? Hopefully that helps clarify the world, but you are right, it's huge data. After our payroll, our base expenses are AWS bills. So it's a lot of data, it's a serious business. Prepare to pay AWS if you want to get into this business, or your cloud provider.